What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Marketing Show. I'm your host, Matt Thibeau, and today we've got a very special guest. We got Brian Diamond from the Contractor Life Academy. How's it going, Brian?
What's up, Matt? Man, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to hang out with you for a little bit.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have some really good chats. Guys, if you don't know for whatever reason, who Brian Diamond is, he's pretty, I would say, prevalent in the contractor coaching community or whatever you want to call it in this space. I've actually had several discussions before with Brian, and we've jumped in our Facebook groups and have some really good chats. And so I think that this is going to be a really good opportunity for a lot of you guys to learn what it looks like to really scale a construction company, because Brian is not just a coach who's kind of just teaching some of this stuff. He's definitely in the trenches. He's walked the walk. He's proven himself. He has the battle scars to prove it. So Brian, do you want to just kind of give people a real quick understanding of kind of the context of who you are and what you do and all that?
Yeah, for sure. I am the founder and a coach in the Contractor Life Academy, and our goal there was back when I started my own company and was able to find some success from it. I worked previously at another multi-state, larger home improvement company that was very focused on scale, right, and growing their organization. And I just found that there is a system and a process to getting it done. There is a potential and a possibility to earn a seven-figure income. Really be in the business strictly from a visionary leadership kind of role. And I felt like it was important that other contractors, you hear so many guys, there's a huge percentage, a majority of guys that are less than $1 million, $2 million in revenue, barely making six figures. And there's a whole nother side to this industry that I didn't feel like people knew was possible. So yeah, the Contractor Life Academy is really born out of the passion of being able to educate, show people, and give them a framework of how to get there. So it's been a really cool journey so far.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate everything that you're putting out. So what I want to talk to today is really this concept of building your pipeline, building up a funnel that's going to give you consistent lead flow, enough lead flow to scale. And then I was thinking we can talk a little bit about the sales side of things too. Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconceptions on both sides. And so first off, I would kind of just want to start off with a vague question. So for you, what's kind of your philosophy when it comes to marketing and construction business at a high level? What does that kind of look like for you? Maybe talk a little bit about what your expectations are for marketing and what that looks like from your perspective.
Yeah, for me, I would say that in my experience, leads and sales is the game. Most of the people that are coming into the construction industry come from a production background.
Yeah.
They're trades guys primarily. And so they may not necessarily understand the concept of lead generation, the importance of having a sales strategy, methodology, converting that into something that goes into the pipeline. Yeah. And so I always encourage guys, if you're in the industry, you haven't had coaching on marketing or sales, that's a great place to start, because most often they have the fulfillment side figured out.
Yeah.
So initially, companies start out as production companies, right? They're getting together with family and friends, big referral base. Prices are typically lower, so they are getting some traction from a sales side because it's a price-based transaction.
Yeah.
And once they get that figured out, then you have to generate as many opportunities as you possibly can, as quickly as you can, as consistently as you can. Yeah. So the bigger the pipeline, the bigger the potential to be able to hit goals, objectives, revenue, personal income, things like that. And that's what I love about you, is you kind of have this keep pressing abundance kind of mindset when it comes to lead generation, versus some companies, coaches, agencies that really focus on trying to throttle that down and find that one perfect client.
Yeah.
How about we just find all the clients? Let's get them all, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a common kind of pain point, I guess, for us is that we're working with contractors a lot of the time that have a smaller team, right? Mm-hmm. And so we constantly have to have this discussion of, hey guys, let's not restrict the lead flow. Let's keep the funnel at the top, really, as many people coming through there. And then we get an appointment setter or someone who can just kind of filter through some of those real quick and see, okay, like this is a project we want to take on, or maybe this one's not a good fit, but you don't want to choke the funnel at the top, right? And so it's a lot of time we'll get people like right now, we've got this one client who's actually crushing it. But in the beginning, we had to do a lot of education because he's like, hey guys, can we set up a way like on the lead form ad, like where someone can submit like a picture of their project and like all of this stuff so I can see if it's something I want to do. And I was like, dude, like that comes on the phone. Like when you're on a phone call with someone, then you can say, send me over the pictures of the project and all that. But we're not going to do that right in the beginning because we want the lowest barrier to entry as possible for someone, right?
Yep. 100%. And that is kind of a thing that's going around, right? It's let's do as much as we can to vet their interest. How intentional are they? How is this somebody who's actually going to move forward with the process as opposed to they're in a discovery mode? We don't want people in discovery, we want people in action mode. And I feel like our job as contractors is to take people's interest, an idea of something that may be possible, and give them inspiration to get them to a point of converting it and saying, this is something that I want to do. And I want to do it now, and I want to do it with you. In one of our lead results for our sales guys, there's a questionnaire. When they result their leads, they have to fill out this little questionnaire, little drop downs. And the reasons that they feel they did not convert that opportunity into a partnership. And two of those is did not create need and did not create urgency. So I don't need a client to have a sense of urgency. I really don't even need a client to have a sense that they absolutely have to have it. I just need a client to have an idea that it is something that they might desire. And what do I do with this feeling that I have?
Right.
We'll take care of the rest. Just get us in front of that person. We'll create the environment for a conversion or a partnership.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, when we were chatting, you were saying a lot of contractors are craftsmen. And so the marketing and sales component of it is something that doesn't really come naturally for a lot of them. And it's like, and I know it because like a lot of the guys that we're working with too, will introduce something like a CRM, or we'll introduce something like just some simple call scripts or something that like can aid in that. And so what are some of the first steps that you would give someone who's like, focused on their craftsmanship, like they don't really understand this? Like, what are some of the first things that you would typically look at to start teaching someone to make that shift to introducing marketing and sales? Like when you're working with someone, is there anything specific you do?
I always encourage people, if they have the time and they have the financial resources to do it, just get sales training.
Yeah, 100%.
Right off the rip. And the reason is because when guys are trades guys, they're new to running their own business.
Yeah.
They typically sell, and their USP, they feel the motivator to get that partnership is having a price that's attractive.
Yeah.
The challenge with that is when they're doing that, they have a very low GP, a gross profit percentage that provides very little growth capital to the business.
Right.
So we always want them to get off of the tools as fast as they can, but there has to be resources. There has to be enough room in the gross profit profile to be able to bring that person on, because most of the time the money that they're making is they're charging a labor rate, their own labor rate, to be on that job.
Yeah.
And so we always want, like, let's get some sales training in place right away, because now we can sell at a higher profit margin. More contribution cash shows up, which allows for scaling and marketing. Right? Let's put some money into a marketing campaign and start making some investments there. Let's get somebody on the tools. So now you can start working on the business. And as that marketing starts to come into play, you can go run those appointments and have the time and availability to do that.
Yeah.
They're typically getting very few leads to begin with in the first place.
Exactly.
And so let's try to figure out how to get the most juice out of the squeeze of these opportunities that they do get, because eventually you can only get so many referrals.
Yeah.
You can only get so many friends and family to buy things, until now you have to start being intentional about actually running a business that has a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't have those resources. So what we want to try to convert people from a mentality standpoint is, I'm the best craftsman on the block. I've got the best prices on the block. We're going to do an exceptional job. We have a 2-year labor warranty, or we have a money, but whatever it is, so does everybody else.
Mhm.
A job well done is the minimum standard of somebody that's expecting you to transform their space. That's nothing
Right.
fantastic. They're expecting you to be a decent human being. They're expecting you to have a level. Oh, I'm very transparent. Well, they hope that you are, right? That's just what we expect of the person we're sitting across the table from.
Right.
So what I've learned is that people want to feel a certain way. And I've had guys, we're homeowners too. We have to make decisions for contractors. So when I'm talking to a guy about the potential of them working on my home, I'm looking for somebody that I feel has a genuine interest in trying to
Yeah.
help me solve my problem. And when the crap hits the fan, that they're going to be somebody that doesn't ghost or disappear, but they're going to say, man, we really screwed that up. This hasn't really turned out the way we hope it would, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to stick to it, man. So let's figure out how to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
Figure out how to make it work. So I'm always encouraging them, if you can show up and have a conversation with somebody that, number one, says, I have no intention of being here other than to help you find a solution to your
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
How do I take my background, my experience, my industry knowledge, all the things I've gleaned over my 10, 20 years in the industry, and help you come up with a path to get what you desire? Now, it may not even be me. I don't know. We haven't got that far yet.
Yeah.
And even if it isn't, that's okay. We still got a lot of accomplished. And I may have a solution at that point you can choose and figure out if I'm the right one.
Yeah.
The purpose of that is that when you show up and you have that and you're able to convey that, the information that you're sharing with the client, they're better able to receive it because they don't feel that it's tainted with an agenda.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
so
builds trust.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So if we can get to that point, the solution is the solution. But now they feel like, you know what, if this guy's telling me that this is the thing that I at least can trust that, and I can trust that I feel like he's going to do a good job because I believe in him and what he's saying.
Yeah. I love what you said there, because the other day I was talking to a painting contractor and he was saying, like, man, the economy is contracting. I'm really feeling it. There's like so many illegals in our city, so they're just like undercutting our prices. So I think I'm just going to have to like lower our prices to be able to meet like and compete with all of that.
Chest pains.
I know, right? And so I was like trying to give him the understanding of like, no, man, this is where like branding and sales, this is like where all of this comes in to help you from that, because you're just stuck in this mindset of seeing yourself as a commodity that like, yeah, we just do painting the same and it's just a price related things. Like you were talking about, Brian, there's so many things,
just paint brushes. That's paint's paint, right?
There's so many things that you can do to add value, and that value can even just be like during the sales process of just being like, so what exactly are you looking for? And like, what's your vision? Like those other guys aren't doing that.
No, not at all. And I've worked with a painting contractor outside of Baton Rouge, and a super nice guy, successful, business was going well. And for one reason or another, it just kind of turned. And that was some of the conversation, right? The market's harder. Appointments are harder to obtain. People aren't as motivated as they used to. They're always looking for the cheaper thing. And I never ran into that in the past. And so they blame it on the market.
Mm-hmm.
But what I told them is I said, our potential clients, our prospects, the market will train us to think a certain way if we let it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that starts to affect our mentality and the lens in which we look at opportunity. And we can't let the market train us to have a scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation then is when we go out, we did some comparative demos. I went out with them on a couple calls, and the conversation changed from the paint and the color and the type of paint and how we apply the paint and all of these things to, Mary, come over to this space right here. With this space that you want to transform, when you walk into this space, how do you want to feel? What do you want to feel when you turn the corner and you walk in here?
Yeah.
And when you visualize the lighting that you have, and are you going to keep this furniture? Are you going to change the furniture out? And who spends time in this space? Why is this space important to you? What kind of memories have you made in this space? Why do you think it's important that you change the color of this space? What are you hoping that it's going to do? Is it just it needs a refresh? Well, why does it need a refresh?
Yeah.
And if you are going to refresh it, what's going to happen to make you feel like it's refreshed? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Refreshed. So we take people away from the technical aspect of the build,
Yeah.
right, and the project, and we start to get them to understand that there's an emotional connection to the reason that they're going to do the project. And then once we understand that, our conversations have to be tied around how we can help make that emotional connection, the desire that they have for change or reality.
Yeah.
And then when we run into price objections, when we run into some challenges,
Yeah.
whether it's painting or let's say it's outdoor patio spaces, I did this with a client out in Texas, is standing out there and saying, Joe, what do you see when you're visualizing this outdoor space? Who's out here? Is it family? Is it friends? Where are they at? Are they out by the fire pit? Who's sitting over at the table? Who's at the outdoor kitchen? Is that you cooking or is it a buddy of yours? And let me walk out and is the outdoor space going to be this far out from the back of keep walking. Okay. It's this far. Okay. And how wide is it? Oh, and where is everything? Are you spending time in the evening or in the middle of the day? Do we need some shade cover? And then once we start talking about pricing, well, Joe, this is, probably looking at about $80,000 to $110,000 depending on selection. Oh my gosh, there's no way. I mean, I didn't plan on anything more than $40,000. Okay, well here, come walk into this space with me. Do you see it? You see the fire pit, you see the outdoor kitchen. Okay, turn this way for me. Just turn this way. Everything behind you is gone. It doesn't exist. So let me ask you, if you were going to invest $40,000 to $50,000 just in this, the 8-foot table's gone. The outdoor kitchen's gone. The pergola's gone with the lighting, when dusk comes and the lights turn on. Now, where are those people hanging out? Is there enough room around the fire pit for everybody?
That's crazy.
Right?
Wow.
Well, gosh, yeah, I didn't think of it like that. Do you feel like if you invested $50,000 in this space that it would even be worth $50,000? Or would you walk out into this space and say, you know what, this was a waste of my money. I can't believe I did that.
I should have just got exactly what I wanted.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. So
whoa.
Can we emotional connection to the difference in the dollars?
Yeah.
So now the question becomes, do you want us to build this to your budget or are we designing this to your dream?
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing I want our clients to do is walk out into this beautiful new space and say, you know what, I wish I would have. I really should have.
Right.
When we can make some decisions to make that a reality, and you'll walk out here every single time and feel like, you know what, I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So what do you think our next step is? Where do we go from here? And so now we take away this, we're not apologizing, or we're not trying to figure out how to take an $80,000 space and turn it into a $60,000 space. And guess where that money comes from? It comes from our family and it comes from our dream. So why should I have to fund somebody else's dream? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So if we can get contractors, even if they don't go into sales training, if just think we're dream builders.
Yeah.
And when you have a conversation, I'll guarantee you there's not a single painting contractor, unless they've worked with me, that's going to take somebody in a space and say, how do you want to feel when you walk in here?
Yeah.
Why is that important to you? So that's what differentiates yourself.
For sure.
That's what makes the difference.
That's really cool. So my next question for you is when we're working with clients, we work pretty hard to try and communicate that experience from a marketing perspective, because that's the sales side. So from a marketing side, we try and create some of that vision or discussion or differentiation on the front end as much as we can, because we don't want someone to reach out for example, patios. We don't want someone to reach out and say, how much does it cost per square foot? We want someone to reach out and say hey, I'm looking for a backyard oasis. We want to frame even the initial discussion, so what are some things that you have maybe you recommend or you find on the marketing side would be able to start that frame rather than them come in, or does it matter at all? I'm just curious on your.
No, as you were asking the question, I kind of went down both paths, right? Number one, does it really matter? Right?
Yeah.
And number two, if it does matter, then what do we do about it?
Yeah.
And the things that I think about, number one is I want all of our clients to be able to give us a video testimonial about their experience in working with us. The reason behind that is it's hard to be able to transfer the emotion behind the transformation on a Google
Yeah.
review.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I can get them to leave me a review and ask them questions that stir up a little bit of emotion,
Yeah.
then that's what's going to connect to people. We don't, I mean, you're a guy that reads a lot, right? You watch podcasts, follow people that inspire. We don't do that because there's some technical thing that they give us. It's because either the guests that they have or the message that they had connects with us in a different way that's personal and it means something.
Right.
So if in our marketing we have an opportunity to allow our clients to be the creator of that emotion through maybe a video, that's a great way to do it. And we can ask questions. What were some things that you were hoping to change and why that wasn't important? And how did you feel about the transformation? What's your favorite part of it? What were you hoping to accomplish? Who's going to be spending time in this space and how's it going to change the way your family lives here? So that's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I asked one of the sales guys I was coaching is what kind of emotional connecting words are we using in your marketing?
Mhm.
Amazing, inspiring,
Yeah.
transformational, changes the way that we are going to raise our kids in the home, memory creators, right? Are you looking for a new kitchen or a place to create memories? Right. Think about your most inspiring memories as a kid. I have memories of being in a kitchen or a space in our home, and that connects with me. So if we can take people through our marketing channels back to a time when
Yeah.
that was a positive experience for them, and now they desire that for their family, I think there's a pretty unique opportunity, and using video or the right kind of words is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it doesn't, let's say it doesn't matter, or let's say that's hard to figure out, and there's a path of determining like how do we A/B test that, right, and get the results we want.
Yeah.
When I think about getting leads, what I need is think about this: a homeowner had a desire for change. They got on the computer and they started Googling, researching. They saw something that resonated with them in an ad, right? They clicked on it, went to your website, filled out the web form, took your call, entertained the conversation, and set an appointment.
It's pretty amazing.
Right. And then we want to say, well, I don't know if they're good enough for us to go out and talk to. I don't know if they're quite ready to do something. They're quite our kind. They might be tire kickers. Let me pre-qualify them with 37 questions to make sure. Yeah. Right. I'm not ready if they're ready to make a decision yet. For the love of how much time, effort, energy, and money went in to think about you and your team and your people, how passionate you are about just creating an opportunity. Yeah. And then the guy goes, well, it just wasn't my client.
Crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Right? So what we want to do is we want to show up and we want to ask questions.
Yeah.
All I need is a homeowner that has a desire to make a change.
Yeah. That
is entitled to the home. That anybody involved in the scope, as far as making decisions, selections, going to be using the space, going to create memories there, has a leg in the budgetary conversation to be present.
Yeah.
A source of income, who cares where it's at. Let's show up and let's then create change and inspire them to then move forward into the next step of whatever our process is.
Yeah.
And so I don't get too worried about how do we create this emotional connection, only because we have a process on the back end that's going to take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very well said. Yeah. Every now and then what I'll do is I will do like an audit of clients, like how they are booking their appointment setting. So like that could be through Messenger. So like leads that come through, like how are they booking those appointments? Or it can be just like seeing how they're handling the calls and just see what those discussions are going like. And most often I would say they're doing what you were kind of talking about as an error, is they're pre-qualifying a lot up front, like a lot of pre-qualification. So through Messenger, like kind of like what I said, send me all these pictures, what's your budget, like all this stuff. And it's like, all of this is happening through Messenger without even like meeting or anything like that, or even just having a real phone call. So You know,
I
if
don't
I
need
was,
a picture, Matt. I'm gonna show up.
yeah,
I'll see what they're trying to accomplish.
right.
I don't need to know what their budget is. Because here's the thing about the budget conversation.
Yeah, I would love to know that from you. Yeah.
Why would we expect? Think about the complexity of what it takes to build a deck, remodel a kitchen or a bathroom. Um, even the complexity of paint. Like people paint as paint, right? But it's not. There's a lot of nuance there that's going to determine what the outcome looks like, right? And the longevity of it, everything else. Why would we expect a homeowner to be able to then adequately determine the price that it takes or the money it takes to be able to get that done? How do we expect a homeowner to do an adequate takeoff of
Yeah.
a whole home remodel and then go, man, I got a pretty good sense of what this is going to take? An example: we bought a house built in 1884. It was a transitionary home as we were thinking about building, and my wife's like, I think I want to stay here. I like this house. And I said, okay, well, I mean, we might need to put an addition on it. She says 100%. So we're talking about it. What would we like to do, and what is it going to
Mm,
look like, and et cetera. And she says, well, so for that $150,000, like, would we pay cash for it? Do you think we get a loan for it? Like, what would we do? And I said, $150,000 for what? And she's like, the addition. And I'm like, this it's going to be $350,000 plus. She's like,
whoa.
what? For an addition? What? And I'm like, Katie, we're
Wow.
bolting on almost another house
Wow.
to this, right? Like, where did you get on? She's like, I don't know. I just in that right
Yeah.
then in that moment, I was like, this is what 80% of the market is like.
Yeah. Whoa.
Right. So if I had said, hey, Katie, you know what? I'm busy. I got podcasts. I got things going on. Can you reach out to here's a list of some guys to call and try to set up some appointments or get some conversations going. If they had said, hey, Katie, what's your budget for this edition? This thing
Right.
that you guys are, and she said $150,000, they would have disqualified her.
Qualified. Yeah.
They would have disqualified her, as opposed to if there wasn't a me in the picture that had a good sense, because I might have been a husband that thought $150,000 as well.
Yeah.
So what our job is to go out and simply realign expectations.
Yeah.
To say, Mary, Katie, I'm 100%. I can see where you have an expectation, an idea that maybe this is $150,000, but could I share some maybe case studies or some third party, non-biased kind of sources of information that might help you realign kind of what it takes to get this done? Sure, because now they can receive the information. You've come
Yeah.
with no agenda, so anything that you tell them, they're going to believe it to be true. So now we realign their price impression to go, now that you know that it's $350,000 plus, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And people will say, well, the homeowners, oh, it's way too much, and maybe we shouldn't do this. And then they dip, and then they go away, and then the thing didn't turn into anything. But how about we just sit and think about, well, what's the emotional connection to that? Where do you feel like that space is needed, or that the space you have, is it adequate? And is there an opportunity or a possibility that we could maybe take a couple walls down, or do some interior remodeling to the footprint that you have now that's going to be able to allow you to create those memories or have the style of living that you desire?
Yeah.
Like, why can't we pivot a little bit?
Right.
But I can't do that over the phone if I
Yeah. If you're just
disqualify people.
So I can already hear a contractor though saying something like, "Well, that sounds great, Brian, but I've got like a small team. I don't have the time to talk to like every single lead or go out to like every single job. I'm still
Mhm.
on the tools. I've only got so much time. Like what you're suggesting sounds like it's going to take up a lot of my time. Like what do I do then, you know?"
Solve the problem.
Love it.
Solve the problem. Why is that? Is that
Right.
because you're on the tools? Solve the problem. Get somebody on the
Mm,
tools. Is that because you don't have you're still managing jobs even though you've got some trades guys or subs on it? Get a PM. Is that because you don't have you got all those in place, but you have too many leads, or you have to be choosy with your time because you're trying to grow your business? Get a sales guy. Don't know how to do any of that? Hire somebody to help you. That's what happens as we get into this
yeah.
loop.
Yes. Yeah.
We get into the hamster wheel of, well, I want to do this, but I can't do this because I don't have that or can't do that. So I'm just going to reside in this place that I've been in. That's why you see contractors that have been in business for, I'm like, how long have you been in? How much are you making right now? About 80,000. How many hours are you working? Probably 60. How long have you owned the business? 7 years. Huh? 7 years?
Yeah.
What's happened in 7 years that you haven't been able to extract yourself from
Yeah.
that wheel that you're in, that spinning cycle? So I believe in the pre-qualification process when you're in that position.
Yeah.
You do have to be choosy with your time,
For sure.
right? In the middle of that, great, but then what are you going to do to get yourself out of the position that
Yeah.
is a real construct of your business?
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. That's kind of like what we try and like plant the seed of when we're working with someone. Because if we see that they start being really choosy with the leads and they're saying like, because I don't have the time and stuff, then that's something where then we'll say something along that lines too, where we're like, okay, like that's fine for now, but like you're gonna cap eventually. So like how are we growing you from here, you know? And
Mhm.
that's kind of like something almost like a bit of a red flag for us. Like you were talking about like, you know, a contractor who's been in business for like 10, 15 years, like sometimes, and it's like they've kind of been like around 100K. It's like, okay, like we're gonna have to really work on the way that they're thinking about marketing and sales and growing, because like a lot of these guys just kind of like are still in that like craftsman mentality. Yeah.
And I love the craft. I mean, we have to have we have to have the craftsmen.
Yeah.
Like we have to have the guys that
Yeah.
are passionate about the trade skill side of it to be
Yeah.
able to, because really they are the executors of all the dream building that we do sitting at the kitchen table.
Right.
Like they're the delivery system ultimately, and they're probably spending more time with the client than we are as a sales guy
Yeah.
or a CEO, right? So that's a vitally important component. But I also know when I started my business, that was one of the first things that I figured out was get a group of subs and get a PM,
Okay.
because I'm not a trades guy. So I needed to make sure that that delivery system, that fulfillment center that of all these dreams I'm creating is top notch, because we have to be consistent in our core values and the delivery and the dreams that we create.
Yeah.
So if you're a trades guy and you don't have a lot of experience in marketing or sales, then be reaching out for resources and trying to implement some systems. But the one thing I would tell people is if you can simply convey your interest in helping people find a solution to their problem without any agenda other than helping them get onto the right thing, even if it's not you, and if you are a good
Mm.
fit, then show them the opportunity. People will pay a little bit more for that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go from 30. There's a coach out there was like, oh, we got to go 50% gross profit. And I called him. I said, here's the problem. You're going to tell guys that they need to sell at 50% gross profit or they're not winning, but they don't know how. So
Yeah.
they've been selling at 30. And when you try to get them to go to 50, they don't have the skill set.
Yeah.
So they're going to hear more no's than they hear yeses, but then they're going
Yeah.
to revert back to the 30%.
Yeah.
So let's make some incremental small changes
Mm.
and start eking them up on a gross profit or a multiplier or
Mhm.
a markup, however they're going to do it to get to that point.
Mhm.
Right. Because all you need is just a little bit of change, just a small building up that pot to be able to get a PM in. And the other
Mhm.
way to do it is you just pay them a percentage of the job.
Mm.
You can just get your GP to go up a percentage, 5% or something.
Yeah.
You can bring
And
a
then,
PM in and almost sub them out and say, hey, if you could manage these 3 projects with these 3 subgroups here, I'll give you a percentage off of each of them.
yeah.
And now you're not committed to a payroll if you don't have a bunch of work coming in and it's kind of spotty, but now you're building a relationship and have somebody helping you out.
Yeah. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, right? I think a lot of the
Mhm.
time they're just kind of like you were saying on the hamster wheel. You mentioned, you were saying like a lot of guys are told to like raise the profit that they're making on that job, but then they won't land it, so they revert back. We experienced something pretty similar too, where a contractor is listening to podcasts saying like, charge what you're worth, like charge more, blah, blah. So then they do that, but they don't have the lead flow or positioning to sustain that. Like it's good advice, but they don't have like enough leads coming through or the right positioning to be able to actually charge that. So then what happens is they just stop closing jobs and then they panic and then they backtrack. Like
They back up.
I was talking to a guy the other week who had that problem. He's like, yeah, I raised my prices because like I'm doing this coaching program. The guy says like charge, premium prices. But then I was looking at his positioning and like just the languaging that he's using on some of the marketing, and it's like, no, man, there's a complete disconnect here too, right? On the branding. Yeah. Anyway, so
that's what I was going to say. There's a disconnect, right?
yeah.
There has to be consistency in brand. It's really this full 360 kind of vision that you have to create. There's a guy that I'm thinking of bringing on as a partner in the Contractor Life Academy from a marketing side, and his passion is just the branding side, really locking CEOs, owners of contracting businesses into what really is your brand. Like,
Yeah.
what does it represent to you, and what do you want it to represent to the community? And then once you get that clarity, then how do you build your core values and your processes and the way that you guys operate, and the language that you use internally, and how do you communicate that to the client? And then how does that then transfer over to your brand messaging and marketing?
Yeah.
And then you can't create this avatar that the client sees and the community sees, but then once they become partners with you, it's, you know what I mean? It's incongruent and it's a crap show. It's kind of like dating, right? We're always going to put on our best thing until, we take them out and they're like, oh my gosh, this guy's a crap show, right?
Yeah.
That's, and then we're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
Why did they bail at dessert, right? So I think it's vitally important, and marketing for me is one thing. What we coach on is people will market, they'll get the leads in, they'll sell, they'll collect the cash, and then it'll sit. It'll sit in an account, and they'll stack it. And then I say, well, what are you doing on the marketing side? What's that money sitting there? Well, that's I was putting that aside for marketing. Well, why aren't you putting it out into the atmosphere to let it work for you? So if I've got a $20,000 job that I sold, and I know my general marketing costs, will just use 10%, and I collect that money and I complete the work, it's what, the 10th? I don't want that $2,000 to sit in an account until I'm like, okay, well, here's my marketing spend for December. Right? I want to take that $2,000 and ship it to Matt. Matt, turn this, do something with it. Help me make money. But if I know I'm operating at a 10% net profit, hopefully 15, and 20 is even better, I'm going to shave 2, 3, 4% off of that 20 grand. I'm going to take another $800 and I'm going to stack it on that 2,000 that I'm shipping you. And then when I get the next job done, I'm going to take that 2,000 plus another 800, and I'm going to ship it back to you. And now all of a sudden I got 2 jobs. So now I'm going to take 2,000 and 2,000 plus 1,000 and 1,000 and ship it to you. And I'm going to keep stacking and parlaying. So if you just make those, we talk about habits, right? One habit after another, repeated often enough, becomes a lifestyle, right? A change. So what about taking 2 to 3% of your net and then just shipping it over into your marketing campaigns? So that way you're going at $500 a month to 1,000 to 2,000 to 4,000 to 12,000 to 20,000.
Wow.
So, and don't stop until the market gives you the finger and says, we're not giving you any more money. You can spend whatever you want. We're not giving you any more leads. And then you can decide what to do from there.
Yeah, something that is like a bit of a challenge for us is that we've got some clients who kind of see what we do with marketing as like a faucet. Like, I need leads now, turn it on. And then like we start, and then we'll go for like a couple months, and they'll be like, all right, I don't need any more, we're busy, and like turn it off. And it's like, we do it because I want to accommodate like what they need and stuff. But I like kindly suggest to them, I say like, hey man, like we should probably keep this going, so then you have the consistency to actually like build a team and stuff. Like, because when you're doing the stop start thing, now it's like you're losing all the momentum that we're like building with everything, especially for Facebook ads, because it's like like we're putting an ad in front of someone, and like the momentum of ads building, like the repetition of it and seeing it, all the different ads. So yeah.
I don't when I started my business, I used the profit first model, and I encourage a lot of my clients to use the profit first model. And here's the reason why. If I get a deposit, that money isn't mine. That's not my money. That money is the client's money, because they may ask for it back, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that needs to go to pay for material and labor, because that's what it's meant for. It's not meant to pay my bills. The other thing I do is I have a marketing account, And so whenever that job gets completed, if I have again a marketing spend of 10% on a $20,000 job, that $2,000 goes into that account. So the two places that I don't recognize money, cash, is whatever's in that deposit account and whatever's in my marketing account. Why is that? Because I cannot not spend money on marketing. I cannot afford not to continue to generate opportunities for my company. But marketing tends to be the easiest thing to turn on and off.
Mm-hmm.
I can't turn on and off an employee's salary.
Yeah.
I can't turn on and off the lease for my building, and I can't turn on and off the payment for the truck or the gas that goes in it.
Right.
But I can call and be like, hey, Matt, let's just hold off for a month. You know what I mean? Things are a little
Yeah.
tight. I've got a bunch of jobs in the pipeline. I'm trying to get them through. Right. So why don't you take those deposits and put them in an account? Why don't you take that marketing money and put it in an account and then learn how to run your business over what's left? Because if I do that, we had a $40 million roofing company in Omaha go bankrupt. Cash flowed themselves right out of business. Left 40 people without a project that had made the deposits that the money no longer exists.
Ooh.
Left suppliers with a 7-figure bill that isn't going to get paid. And as industry guys, they're probably not going to be able to exist in this industry anymore that they've been in for 20 plus years. All right, where do you go from there? So that being the case, how do you protect yourself against that, or how do you make sure there's always an opportunity? If I'm always able to generate an opportunity that I can turn into a job in my pipeline, that I have the deposit to be able to build labor and material, I'll never go out of business. It's impossible. Because even if I run out of money and I'm like, sorry guys, I don't have any payroll, right? We don't have money for the lease and I don't have money for the truck, and the truck's actually getting repoed if you look out there, right? What I can do is I can still go find a sub, order the material, get the job done, and know that there's still calls coming into my phone or email showing up of somebody looking for a project to be completed. Right? Going and landing the plane on that, people can't stop marketing.
Yeah.
You cannot stop investing money. And even if you don't have a lot and you have a little, you can still do something with a little, because if you keep parlaying it, it'll turn into a lot eventually.
Yeah.
Right? And we're our best marketers.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? Little
very well
knock.
said. Yeah.
Something to be said for that, right?
Yeah, very well said. Just to kind of, close things off, we talked a lot about like the front end of things. So like marketing, sales, on like a lot of the front end.
Yeah.
Something that I've personally found that I find contractors struggle with is like follow-up, right? So either they called a lead and that lead didn't answer right away, and then on the first call they're like, all right, whatever, like, let's go. Hey Matt, like these leads aren't any good or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is that they deliver the estimate and then the person's like, yeah, I got to think about it or whatever. Like, can you get back to me in a month? And I would say probably like 7 out of 10 contractors that I ask, like, do you have any kind of system like after that happens, like to follow up? And they're just like, oh, I just try and remember. So talk a little bit about the follow-up side of things, because I think that there's so much money in the follow-up. Like, one of the first things we do with the client is we just ask them, hey, do you have like previous estimates and like leads already like organized? Because we can just shoot out an email to all of them and just say, hey, do you want some work done? So then like we can just get you some money real quick off the bat. So I'm just curious, like tell me a little bit about like for follow-up, like some of your philosophy there.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because if guys talk about some cash flow crunches or pipeline challenges or whatever it is, that's my first go-to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Have you tapped into your database?
But they don't have one a lot of the time. It's like
yeah.
Oh, no.
there's something to that as well. So here's kind of what we think about on the fall. I'll give you an example. We contacted a guy recently that would be 2023. 2015 is when he came into our pipeline. We had emailed, text him, and made a phone call to his contact information 72 times before he picked up the phone. And then he picked up the phone and he cussed my call center out. What are you guys doing? You've been calling me for 7 years now. It's a 70 phone calls. Blah, blah, blah. And I'll see if I can get the file and send it to you. And she says, well, Joe, you reached out to us and said you were trying to get a project done. And she says, man, we've called you over 60, 70 times just trying to give you good customer service. Right. So, now that I got you on the phone, how are you? What do you mean, how am I? You're a good guy. You got yeah. She says, well, tell me about your project. How did you get that done? No, I haven't got it done yet. Oh, that's what she said. Oh, really? Okay. Right. She got a hot one here. So, later that week, we went out and wrapped up a project for Joe for $20,000.
No way.
Yeah. We generate we're probably close to 7 figures, if not a little bit more. I could go back and get the data on rehashing.
Yeah.
Simply rehashing. We have a big database, right? We churn a lot of numbers through that rehash program. But there was some guys that come into the academy and then they'll say, look, I'm really struggling. We're experiencing these challenges, and usually it has to do around cache or pipeline or whatever it is. Yeah. And so what I'll give them is we call it a reactivation script. In fact, if you want, what I'll do is I'll get you a link to it or get it to you if you want to provide it to your clients.
In the comments, I can put it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so what that is it's literally the cadence and the script to be able to reach out to people. And we get it for three categories. And you can do this. This is what I tell them to do. Go onto your phone, get a little spreadsheet and take all of your leads. Well, one guy says, well, so where are all your leads at? You don't have a CRM. And he held up a stack of notebooks. And I said, all right, your job is to go into your notebook, take this and put them into a spreadsheet or hire somebody to do it. Yeah. I said, the next thing you do is I'm going to give you some scripts. I said, I want you to then copy and paste them, whatever. Just put them in a note section on your phone. And then in that spreadsheet, it's going to be blue. And what it means is you can tap it and it'll call, right? It'll pop up an opportunity for your phone to call that number. So literally, if you're sitting down to dinner, if you're in the bathroom, if you're waiting at a red light, whatever, you can just take that, tap it, copy, paste, and then send this text message out. And if you just do that 5 times a day, 5 times, that's it. I guarantee you by the end of this month, within a 30-day rolling period, you're going to have at least $50,000 to $100,000 of work show up in your pipeline. And it has never yet failed. Never yet failed. And what we're looking for is just a conversation. So you don't have to convert them over the phone. You just need a response.
Yeah.
The next stage is get them on the phone. And we do that for 3 categories. One category is people that you've given an estimate to that you communicated with and they told you no. The next one is the people that have ghosted you straight out. And then the other ones that have come into your pipeline, you've reached out to and just never connected with. And if they don't have a project, if they say, no, I did get it done, I did hire somebody else to do it, great. Are there any other projects I could help get you some information on that's coming up for this year?
Yeah.
Right. The other one might be, hey, previous customers is another category. Anything else, we're wrapping up our production pipeline or we're getting our pipeline staged up for 2024. Is there any projects that you've been thinking about for next year that I can help get you some information on or get you on the right direction? And if they say no, great. Wondering if you could help me out. We're really staging up a new referral program for 2024. Love to put some holiday money in your pocket. Do you happen to have anybody that you could connect me with? What about taking a picture of a check, maybe whiting out the account number, whatever you want to do, and say, I'd love to put it $500, $1,000,
put your name
whatever, on right? And say, yeah, I'd love to put your name on this check for the holidays. Do you have anybody you could connect me with that's been talking about making a change in their home? Because all it's going to take is for you to send them that check, and they will be the biggest champion for you. They will be the biggest cheerleader because they want more checks.
Yeah.
Where's the money come from, Brian? How am I going to do that? Right? How am I going to pay for that?
Yeah.
It just gets spread over other contracts. You go to your next project. If they're paying $20,000, they'll pay $20,500 for the referral of their aunt that sent you to that opportunity. Right? We don't pay for it. The clients pay for it.
Yeah. So good, because I think a lot of contractors are so focused on the front end of things, but a lot of the time the back end is being neglected, right? So I'm so happy that you said that. I would love if we could get that link. I'll put it in the description so that people can take advantage of that, because it's like, probably the easiest win that you could get is someone who's already in your pipeline and not focusing as much on like all these people out, right?
You
So
already built the relationship with
yeah,
them. That's the
exactly.
key
Yeah.
point, right? They already know who you are, and it's not like
Yeah.
it's a cold DM or something like that. So take it. You'd be surprised at how willing and interested people are in helping others win.
Yeah.
So if they can't, I'm sure you're the same way. I'm the same way. Somebody says, "Hey, do you got a lead for me? Do you have an opportunity? Anybody you've been talking to?" Yeah, 100%, man. Actually, I do. Right? Let me get you connected.
Yeah.
Because we put that out of the universe, man. It comes back to us tenfold, right? We've experienced that.
Yeah.
So, man, it's been
Brian,
really good chatting with you, man. I
yeah.
love the topic of marketing and sales because it's such the lifeblood of what we do, and these topics are the game changers that propel people to a compelling picture of a new future in their business.
Yeah.
And that's why I love you, is because you're very dedicated to watching people win and being a part of that journey, and caring more about the totality of their business versus just, hey, how can I get you a lead and then go do something with it. Right.
Yeah.
So good on you for that, man. It's been really cool to watch that happen.
Well, thank you. And yeah, likewise, man. It's always great connecting. So I appreciate that. So if someone wants to continue the conversation with you or follow some of the great stuff that you're putting out, where's the best place for them to go?
Now our ecosystem really exists on Facebook and Instagram. That's where we put a lot of our content out. So they can search the Contractor Life Academy. They can leave a comment. They can DM me. I've got a team of people that will be able to reach out and connect with them. And we just love to hear their story, what challenges they have. And we have been finding some amazing transformations happening if people are simply willing to just dig in and have a desire for change. But as long as they have a need and an interest, we'll figure out how to get you on the right place, even if it's not us. So,
Well, fantastic. Well, thanks for being on the show, Brian. And guys, thanks for listening to this episode.
see ya.